Hello, this is Alex Bichkowski, editor of the Aleph Zero podcast. It is my pleasure to welcome you to another episode of our podcast series. Today's episode originated as a Twitter space, which we are now distributing as a podcast for your listening pleasure. Sit back, relax, and enjoy as the Aleph Zero team and our respective guests discuss the ecosystem funding program.
Hi everyone, this is Anthony from Aleph Zero hosting on behalf of the project. We're going to be starting very shortly. Already have interlog A0 domains. Mike, Magda, give us 2 minutes and we're going to be on. Okay, can everyone hear me properly? If you just react with one or two emojis, that would be very helpful. Awesome, good stuff. So welcome everyone. I think this is our first Aleph Zero hosted Twitter space actually. And we wanted to use this opportunity to talk about what ecosystem funding program is, what are the next steps in the growth of the network of the startups and use cases building on top of it. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for listening. I'll start with a round of introductions. So first we've got Magda Alexei, who's the Aleph Zero ecosystem lead responsible for coordinating the works of the core team with startups use cases, as well as different ecosystem partners. We've got Maciej Skrzypczak, who's, it's a difficult Polish last name, he's one of the co-founders of Block 54 Capital, who they've been supporting the project for years now. Maciek has an extensive career in marketing, built two different agencies, started a third one as well. And we're very also lucky to have him as one of the advisors for the project. We've got Andrew speaking on behalf of Interlock. Andrew is a CMO of the product. And Interlock, for those of you who don't know, is a decentralized security project seeking to help every possible DeFi user. Last but not least, we've got A0 Domains and Mike Schneider, also a co-founder of the project, which is a native name system on Aleph Zero. Mike is also a co-founder of SIO Labs, who are going to be working on a suite of different multi-chain projects. And again, on behalf of Aleph Zero, I'm Anthony. I'm one of the co-founders. So let's begin. Magda, let's start with you. If you could give a very short rundown on what EFP is, why it's not a typical ecosystem fund, and why it's not a typical grant program. I think this would be super helpful.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, hi everybody. So what it is? Well, it's something definitely very exciting for us as the Aleph Zero team, and I hope also exciting for our community and especially the builders. Well, it's a program built to support talented developers, talented teams. Who have some innovative ideas, and I'd say innovative is the key word here, because we are looking for some great projects, and we are we want to do everything possible to support them, and about that in a second. But innovative projects are the ones that we want to focus on. We are not looking for projects like multiple projects of the same kind, or projects that are just copy pasted from other chains. And when we finally find the project, so what we offer as our ecosystem funding program is the support, obviously financial support, because we offer grants. But apart from that, and we consider that even sometimes more important part is support on multiple levels, from let's say marketing and design, through some security audits, through connections to our friendly VCs and the network of partners that can support the builders. So I would say this is actually a variety of things that are wrapped up under the name of the ecosystem funding program. And the whole point of that is to obviously incentivize the adoption of Aleph Zero, but also to give some talented teams possibility to create something great together with us.
Thanks. Thank you, Magda. Yeah, so just to sum up, like, we're trying to steer away from the spray and pray approach where we try and prioritize quality over quantity. And whenever a project receives funding, we also want to make sure that they also receive proper incubation and essentially maximize the chances of well, business success. And an important part of that, on both sides, is beyond the foundation, beyond Cardinal, beyond like the core team, are obviously use cases and product teams, as well as funding partners. So I think we can start with Maciek, if you could give maybe like a short rundown on your bio and how you got involved in the space, and then proceed to how you perceive Block 54's role in the ecosystem.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, Antek and Magda. My name is Maciej. I'm a partner in Block 54 Capital, small boutique fund where we invest since 2016 in Web3. Before that, as you mentioned, I started 3 companies, all of them involved in marketing. So I have a bit of experience as a founder and a huge respect for founders because I know how hard it is. And yeah, we are so excited about the start of EFP. I can start from a little announcement because we haven't been very active about communicating this, but we already invested in 4 projects in Aleph Zero ecosystem. Aleph Zero Domains, Interlock, Angel Block, and Darkverse. So very happy to sit together with here with Interlock and Azure Domains, because these are projects that we are looking for, examples of projects that we are looking for in Aleph Zero ecosystem. Like historically, Block 54 invested mostly in layer 1s and infrastructure projects, but as the market matures, we at this point are interested basically in every vertical. DeFi, gaming, security, identity, decentralized science, you name it. But thinking about Aleph Zero ecosystem, I think most interesting use cases will be using your upcoming privacy framework. So yeah, and where we are talking with founders, both from Aleph Zero ecosystem and other ecosystems, we basically are looking for 2 things. First is a visionary idea, and the second part is dedication to make it happen. And I think the second part is more important here, because it's basically easier to have a great idea than to build it. So we're looking for team's background. We're looking for hardworking people, good people. We are looking what their motivation is. Are they thinking long term? And we also always want to check relationship and chemistry between founders. And what really helps us here when we investing in Aleph Zero ecosystem is that this is this unspoken part of this program, which is culture, and culture is more about action than words. And I believe personally that you, as a core members of Aleph Zero Foundation, by your actions, you attract people with similar values, and that makes our life much easier, because I personally found here in this place many people who are hardworking, long-term thinking, and community oriented. So in effect, in the last year we did 7 investments, and 4 of them are in Aleph Zero ecosystem, and I can promise you that's just the beginning.
Awesome stuff. Well, so here's some direct feedback from a market participant and a strong supporter of the ecosystem. But also, like, let's touch upon how do you perceive different limitations of the project? Like, what can stop a project from reaching its full potential typically? So, say you have a great founding team, you've got a great product idea, you've got traction, everyone's building, developing, and what in this case where you have honest builders, hardworking builders, and let's set aside market conditions because that is a never changing subject. But from a purely development standpoint, how should builders be made aware of what's out there, what they need to be careful of, and essentially what can be certain reality checks for them as they go along on their journey. And this is also too much.
Yeah. As I said, it is really hard to be an entrepreneur and a founder. You have to inflict a lot of pain on yourself, basically. And I know that from my own experience. So basically, startups can fall for many, many different reasons. And especially in Web3, because here it's even more risky. It's innovative space with where you have to learn constantly, basically like every day. But where I think EFP comes with the great help is by providing all these resources that can just make your life much easier as an entrepreneur. But the most important maybe would be legal help and regulatory framework to work with, because from entrepreneur point of view, you risk so much and you work so hard, but then if you can go to jail, for example, or have some problems with the law, it's not worth it, basically. So I saw many talented founders that even start to build crypto projects. They chose building in Web2, for example, because they were afraid of all these risks associated with the law. So here, in our program, where you have an opportunity to work, for example, with 3 Dots or MME, like 3 Dots is a law firm we are working with as a fund. You can like sleep much more calmly because they will make sure that all the help that you get will be actually you will be much safer. So I believe this part is one of the most important here.
So regulatory certainty to a level that's reasonable, and putting a lot of effort into setting the right foundations right from the start.
Yeah, but because then it's much more easier to take risks, and you need to do this as a founder.
You essentially know your boundaries.
Exactly.
Mike, or are you speaking, or is a Zero domain profile speaking?
Hey guys, yeah, it's me. It's Mike.
Would you agree with this approach? Say that if you start a project, specifically in the Web3 crypto blockchain space, what did you guys look for first? You started on E4, so hackathon, won the hackathon. What were your next steps? How do you turn a project that basically, both the idea and the execution for the MVP happened over 2 days, essentially? How did you approach turning the concept or like the proof of concept really into something that was more tangible, ready to build, ready to ultimately also fundraise to scale?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, let's say, first of all, I'm happy to be here and to represent Azure Domains. Pleasure to be talking to all of you. And coming back to your question. So, I mean, the interesting thing is that Dennis and me, like the co-founders, we have been around working together in the Web3 crypto ecosystem for quite some time, at least 1.5 years. But we have like gained our first experience in the EVM space. So we explored different smaller projects on Ethereum. We did some educational dashboards on stablecoins, for example, and some other smaller hackathon participations. But we have been following Aleph Zero as like an upcoming and super interesting layer one technology from also 21. And then at some point in time, we were like, hey, actually, we are feeling ready to build something big and to go for something new. And then we actually discovered that at ETH Warsaw, Aleph Zero was one of the main sponsors for the hackathon. I think it was actually the first sponsorship of Aleph Zero, like sponsoring a real hackathon. So we just said, hey, it's not far away from where we're living. We are based in Berlin. So let's give it a try. And by then we were also already like somehow thinking, hey, what could be somehow a primitive or a product vertical, which actually makes sense, which is super needed on any kind of blockchain ecosystem, and is also somehow possible to build in a short amount of time. So then we actually came up with this idea of going for a name service. And interestingly, we actually assembled the team for this hackathon one day before participating. So in the beginning, it was just Dennis and me with the idea and the concept. And then the night before, we were looking for a Rust developer to actually support us writing the smart contracts because our experience was rather in, as said, EVM and the Solidity space. And we actually achieved to find someone. And then we just gave it a go. It turned out quite nice. We were actually also happy about what we were able to achieve. And then we made, I think, a good move. And this was actually launching a Twitter page directly after submitting the project. So we were convinced that what we have built in this short amount of time is something which we can show to the community and will be like happily perceived by the community. And the day after we got the notification that we won the hackathon, and then it was for us about to somehow think, hey, how can we actually take this, what we have been building at the hackathon, and create an actual venture out of this? Because we all have to know that participating at a hackathon, winning a hackathon, is something completely different than building an actual venture, which has like proper structures, proper operations, a clear plan and strategy, and especially a fitting team setup. So luckily, Anthony and Adam, like directly after the hackathon, they approached us and asked, hey guys, do you actually plan to like keep building this? We would be happy to support you. And yeah, we said yes. And then the weeks after, we just like focused on, hey, what's the best setup to go for it? So we assembled the team, somehow like distributed the roles, looked for, hey, how can we actually structure the next weeks? How can we actually structure a proper grant proposal? And this was also a process where Anthony and Adam really like pushed us, supported us, and we really like had an ongoing discussion and challenged ideas and potential strategic directions. And after some weeks, we came up with a good plan, and we actually noted this down in this kind of grant proposal format, so that we actually have some kind of plan to follow. And then we started building, and then we just started building. And interestingly, in the course of building, it turned out that the initial vision we had of building a domain service was actually just the beginning. So over the weeks and months building, our vision like shaped a bit further and it increased really. And across or during this kind of process, we just felt, hey, we need some more support, some more like input from others who are a bit more experienced, who have already a bigger network in this ecosystem to help us. And this was where the funding program really like pushed us somehow, because whenever we had something where we had like a blocker or a hurdle to take, we were just talking to Adam, Anthony, and the rest of the team, and they did their best to make it happen, to solve it together with all the ecosystem partners. And it was an interesting process, and I'm happy to give even more details about it later in this Twitter space.
Thank you. Glad it's working, at least for you.
Thanks.
And then maybe just to put a little bit of contrast with Interlog, Andrew, and Rick, because you guys didn't start from scratch. So what's your story? How did you end up on Aleph Zero?
Cool. Well, thanks for having me, Anthony. This is Andrew from Interlock here. So we had just to Anthony's point, a contrast and different experience from the A0 domains teams, where at Interlock, we're building decentralized security products, and our mission is to secure DeFi. We give end users free enterprise grade security in the form of a browser extension. Users can elect to share anonymized security data with us. And then we license that as a product called Threat Intelligence, which is about a $10 billion a year market. That's a short pitch. Think of it like Brave, but for cybersecurity. So our experience with Aleph Zero started, we were already a full-time team of 9, and we were probably about 75% done building on Solana. And originally we were building our products on Solana, and we met the Aleph Zero team in person at Permissionless last year. I believe it was in May or June of 2022, and had a really good experience and connection with the team there. And to Machej's pointed earlier, where they're looking for culture, at Interlock, we're looking for culture and a fit on the ethos and morals and foundational perspective of how they go about building a business. And at Interlock, we really respect how the Aleph Zero team is personally, professionally, and how they're building their products with rigor. And they prioritize doing the right thing over the quick and easy decision. That's kind of what it looked like from a decision-making process. So like that was a really big decision for us because we were already almost done, and that delayed our launch by probably 8 to 9 months minimum. But we couldn't be happier with the, where we currently are. And then from a technical perspective, Aleph Zero was really interesting to us from a privacy and security standpoint, because as a security project, we put a great emphasis on security, as you can imagine, and the zero knowledge proofs and liminal help us on the technical side in disguising our heuristics and combating scammers. And kind of my background has been startups my entire career. I was the first marketing hire at 5 different Silicon Valley based companies, all early stage, had a marketing agency, and I've worked with about 25 to 28 startups at this stage, and haven't worked with a funding or accelerator program like this before, because they've really helped with guiding us through the layers of complexity. Because building security, blockchain-based security products is no easy task, especially when we're one of the first movers to build a model like this. So they've helped us navigate, obviously, the blockchain side, giving us a lot of support in building out our smart contracts. Our blockchain engineer, Blair, which I hope will join soon, can give you feedback on that. But a lot of support in building, in developing our smart contracts. Right now, our smart contracts are getting audited by their partner, Kudaleski Security, and we're actually almost done with the process. It took about a month, but like without Aleph Zero's help on that stage, or with that stuff, I believe that time frame would have been a lot longer. They've also given us help and guidance on the regulatory framework. Matt's been pretty instrumental in that, and as well on the marketing and community growth side of the business. So get a lot of support from different angles of the business from the Aleph Zero team.
Good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I just want to add that it's not a one-way street, and the sort of us as a core team behind Aleph Zero, we're also learning a ton, and because sometimes you cannot anticipate everything, and without a proper feedback loop, it's impossible to also improve the entire program and the incubation process. We also have Alex. Alex, can you speak?
In
Or are you on the
in
move?
theory, yes, but I will be on the move very soon. I'm
All right.
I'm used to being an Aleph Zero afterthought, and I say this with as much affection as I possibly can, Anthony.
Well, I thought, we hosted a space recently with you guys. Well, actually, an AMA.
I know I know
your
when I take up too much time. You don't have to subtly give me that that notion.
but your experience is also completely different because you launched Angel Block on Ethereum first, and I think that makes perfect sense. But also, interestingly, I think it's, these are two completely different technologies, completely different scales also. So how will you approach this multi-chain launch process when you have already Ethereum? What kind of different startups would you expect from, say, a market leader versus an up-and-coming network focused on privacy?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And for anyone here that doesn't know, my name is Alex. I represent Angel Block. And what Angel Block is we're trying to create, or we are creating, the first protocol layer for decentralized fundraising. So essentially taking crypto fundraising, taking a bit of money from the scammers, making it a bit more secure by the protocol, and making it fully non-custodial, so no one is actually holding the funds, making it a bit less sketch for everybody throughout the process. And yeah, I mean, when you look at ETH, obviously it's the largest market cap, right, when it comes to L1s that can actually host smart contracts. So that was kind of a given for us. Our approach, I would say, has drastically changed over the last year and a half, seeing how Aleph Zero is developing. We have made plans to deploy on Aleph Zero, I would say, quite early on. Anthony, you and I started speaking about this. It's going to be something around, I don't know, 18 months ago, something like that. So we always knew that Ethereum was going to be a good bet for us. I would say that integrating Aleph Zero this year is probably our number one priority, apart from launching some startups on Ethereum, which is already ready. But I'm very, very curious, and I'm very emotionally, I would even say, invested in seeing how Aleph Zero as an ecosystem progresses, just because we launched staking last month, and I don't need to tell anyone here the amount of pain. I can see LeBlanc is listening. We have a few other users, I would even say power users of Angel Block, listening here, and just the interactions with smart contracts for staking. We can make it look as pretty as it can possibly look, but the pain comes when you need to set that approval and you need to actually interact with the smart contract. That's the painful moment. And if anybody here knows me, like I haven't been as bullish on L2s. Like I think L2s, layer 2s, are a very interesting solution, but I think that whether you look at Aleph Zero or whether you look at Ethereum with the merge and ETH 2.0 with proof of stake, the long-term game of any L1 is bringing down gas fees and transactional fees. And that really, in my opinion, really puts a question mark into the existence of L2s, which primarily can offer lower fees because of their centralized nature. So I'm not the biggest fan of L2s when it comes to integrating them for the long term. So looking at Aleph Zero, looking at the speed, the finality, the security, the decentralization, we are essentially trying to figure out in the coming months whether even a migration wouldn't make sense, right? Like Ethereum we want to serve the Ethereum ecosystem, but we see how the game is changing. And, my hats off to Solana, like Interlock. Andrew, I know you spoke that you guys were ready to run on Sol before making that switch. And I think that speaks volumes, like I think the Solana fiasco, that's not on them. Obviously they need to replug the blockchain every few weeks. So that's a bit iffy, but FTX kind of, drags Solana down, and it just makes sense the way that things are progressing. So if there wasn't that little spoke in the gears for Sol, like we would probably be having a little bit different conversation when it comes to long term of that the viability of that blockchain. But it's just very, very interesting to see how everything is progressing, and I think that as a builder, the speed and the rate of progress in this space, you do need to be reevaluating essentially the entire value prop of the space to make sure that you're offering the best security and scalability for whatever product you're building. And I think that's exactly where we are right now. So we have been multi-chain from the very start. I would definitely love to increase our emphasis on Aleph Zero in the coming weeks and months, and see how it goes from there. Thank you for having me, Anthony. I know this was last minute, but good to hear everybody here.
Awesome to have you join. Cripster, you're requested to speak. Also, if anyone else is interested in speaking, please don't be shy. Raise your hand. Happy to open this up. So over to you, Cripster.
Oh, awesome! Thank you. Yeah, actually, I really agree with the idea of basically moving from POW to POS in the regards that POW, like I said, like people say a lot of times, it requires a lot of power, right? It requires a lot of energy, and POS does not require as much. And a lot of people talk crap about it because it's very centralized. But I think that it really comes down to, uh, every year you have the doubling, and the doubling is in effect to doubling of CPU power, and POW is GPU power. So people don't take into account that the fact that in 5 years' time, everyone can run a Solana node from their cell phone. It's gonna be normal, and I think people don't realize the amount of progress that we're making in the the actual physical hardware of everyday devices that we're using. And I think that's one reason we started a validator service for Solana, or first not Solana, for Aleph Zero, and that's the reason we kind of basically moved away from Tezos, because Tezos is very low power, and it's what do you call it? It's very low power, but they focus so much on that they don't focus on the fact that in the future everyone can run a high like multiple CPUs on a small device, and it's not going to require as much power. So I think focus on these layer twos like Arbitrum and yeah, etc. It's not going to really. I feel like layer one is definitely the place where we all want to be in the future. I think layer two is literally it's going to die out in a year or two. It's a fad because of the fact that hardware is accelerating at a pace. Hardware technology is accelerating at a pace that we can't really we can't really exactly see where it's going, but we can kind of pace it out by looking at the graphs. The CPU is doubling every year. The CPU power is doubling every year. So in that case, I definitely think layer one is where you want to be. Layer two is it's a thing of the past, and it's just a fad right now. On another note, with this grant program that's going on with the current the current grant program, I was curious actually. We weren't I wasn't looking for funding, but I want to go ahead and make sure that if we decide to start, we're thinking about starting a new program or a new application on Aleph Zero, a new DApp, but we want to make sure we kind of align with the Aleph Zero branding as well as sort of the Aleph Zero core standard. So instead of getting a grant, is there also a possibility to get like a sort of a one-on-one contact with the core devs and in regards to both front end and back end smart contracts, like not monetary even?
Yeah, like definitely. So, look, like we're trying to be as when it comes to the developers or generally the team, we're trying to be as approachable and available as possible. So the first point of contact when you have some let's say ad hoc question with regards to the development would be Discord. So there's a dedicated section for developers. There's always somebody from the core team to be able to answer. Mostly it's Piotr, as he's the technical ecosystem lead, and what that means is, it's a fancy title for essentially being out there for the builders. And then obviously if there's a need for stronger support, we're also there. We can schedule a call. Um we can go over your concept, your plans. Yeah, so there are multiple options on how to approach this. And when it comes to applying to EFP, or the process behind this, Magda, if you could maybe shed some light on how we structured this, that would be really cool.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
sure.
Oh, sorry.
All right, no worries. Yeah, sure. So basically, the process, we just try to make it as easy as possible. So it all actually focuses on our grant application form. So basically, if you guys go to our website, there is tab dedicated to our ecosystem funding program, or just alephzero.org/EFP. And there, first of all, you will find all the rules and the criteria according to which we are then analyzing the applications and so on and so forth. And there is also a button that will just send you directly to the form. When it comes to the form itself, pretty basic questions. So just information about your project, what are your goals, what you want to achieve, why you have chosen Aleph Zero to launch your project on, and then the important part. So your development plans, so the roadmap and the milestones. Because if you get accepted to the program and you'll get a grant from us, this is like how we pay out the grants is also according to the milestones that you deliver. So it's pretty straightforward. And actually, important thing connected to what you guys just said, it's like the form is available to everybody. So even if there are projects who are not that interested about in funding itself, but for example would like to get some support from our developers or maybe one of our partners and so on, those projects can also apply through the form. It's just enough to write that, you know, as a form of a grant they want to apply and to get a security audit or maybe a support from any other partners, anybody from our team as well. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. Once we receive the application form, we have a grant committee that meets every 3 weeks, depending on the number of applications that we get, and then we go through all of the applications. If we want to meet some of the teams, we obviously schedule the calls and so on. And then once we set up a communication channel with the project, we are happy to then provide them with any information or contact with anybody from the team, whatever is needed. So the first step definitely would be our website and the grant application form. And then once we receive the application and we want to get in touch or set up a meeting with the team, we'll just reach out to you and then plan the next steps.
Awesome. I do have one more question regarding this. Do you guys do not just grants, but also like, what do you call it? Like investments? For example, if you're doing an NFT platform and there's a dividend based on the NFT, have you guys considered doing that? Or is that kind of not it's not very regulated right now. So maybe you guys don't want to jump into it, but we were kind of thinking of a platform where you could have early investors can get the NFT, and then those NFTs, even though it's an early investor, but those early investors can also get NFTs, and then completely, even the investor cycle can also be sort of decentralized in that way. So I was kind of curious if you guys have thought about that, or if you guys are just planning on doing grants in particular, or also investments.
Yeah, so right now it's just grants, and the investment side or VC support side is left to the ecosystem partners and to make their own decisions, also the angel network. But yes, like when it comes to anything that's related to, NFT-based dividend sharing, it's always a regulatory challenge. So that being said, it's every project is just evaluated on an individual basis, I'd say.
Okay, great. Thank you guys.
Thank you. And we've got two community members and one project actually on the first to launch. So the first one I think was Abdul. Abdul, if you want to speak, please go ahead. All right, moving on. Ace, I think you were the second one.
Hey Anthony, how are you? Hey everyone. Hey Andy. Just wanted to say very, very bullish on the ecosystem fund. I think you guys as a project embody everything that should be about Web3. Even just look at Matt Niemerg's Twitter feed and the kind of things he gets riled up about, and how there is a genuine striving to make the world, society, privacy, and being able to transact a better place. On the ecosystem fund, I think it's absolutely awesome. I think the really bullish thing about it is the level of support. I know from when we worked with Interlock that you guys give to projects. So it's not just a case of writing a check and away you go. Like certain grants programs can be like that. Just take the money, call us when you've hit your milestones, and we'll give you the next installment. But with Aleph Zero, I know it'll be a system where, and again, from talking to the guys at Interlock, there's genuine support, and you guys are there to drive the project forward. So yeah, just really excited about that, and really excited to see the projects that you guys produce out of it. And yeah, like always here, we're kind of Aleph Zero community members first. So if there's ever any way we can support you on any side of it, just get in touch. We'd always be happy to.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Always means a lot. A0 punks. You guys were I think the first application to actually launch on the mainnet. So how did it work? Like, what's your experience?
Oh, it was awful. Would never do it again. No, it was fantastic. To be totally honest, it was fantastic, Anthony. The confidence we had, our dev essentially hit the on switch and then went off to pick up his kids from school. Like that's how confident we were in the network. We've not had a single issue. We've had no problems with our smart contract. Everybody's been happy, and I think that kind of speaks volumes. Delaying the network to launch until Link 4 was complete, I think that made our lives a lot easier. It cost us a lot less time in dev work, which was obviously the community wasn't the happiest, but in the long run, it pays off for everybody, doesn't it? But yeah, it's been great. It really has. To speak on the support as well from the network, it has been fantastic. I really liked Cripster's idea of being able to apply through the grant program and not seek any monetary compensation. I think that would be an awesome thing to kind of advertise and show off that Aleph Zero is willing to do that for maybe the smaller guys that might not want to ask for money but might just want a bit of help pushing a small idea that they might want to toy around with. I think that's a fantastic idea.
All right, definitely something we can think of how to structure and how to set up. For now, I think the Discord as a first point of contact is the way to go, and as it escalates, I think we can definitely work on this.
For sure. You wouldn't want to get too overwhelmed now, just releasing a grant program and then every man and his dog applying at the same time.
Yeah, we'll see how that works. For now, we're happy to have received tens of new applications actually ever since the announcement. So still swifting through it. Looks very interesting. And then we have Know Your Crook, KYC Alliance, with whom I've had also a pleasure to record our first podcast episode. Hi.
Hey, hello again. Appreciate you pulling me on here. I really just want to come on and say I'm an OG with Interlock. I've been helping and advising them a lot on security concerns, especially as they relate to the end user. So how the end user is taken in by phishing scams or confidence schemes or things like that. And through Interlock, I first learned about Aleph Zero. And it's been one of those projects where the more I look into it, the more impressed I am, and the more milestones are hit, the more I'm blown away that this kind of project can even exist, let alone is building so quickly and flourishing. I think I'm a very security-minded person, as you can understand, and everything that I read about the structure around the A0 chain itself gives me a lot of hope for the future of security and privacy as a whole, as it relates to blockchain related technology. And I'm really excited to be a part of it. It's been absolutely amazing. Every milestone that Interlock has hit, building on A0 seems like it has gone almost seamlessly. It's just, there's a lot of work to be done, but there's minimal hiccups, there's minimal stress, there's minimal, oh no, something went wrong, we have to nuke this and start over. It's just been, Andy had mentioned they made the pivot from the Solana chain to A0, and even though it delayed launch by 8-9 months or so, the road to getting to this point has been a very straightforward one. So I just wanted to express my appreciation and how excited I am for the future of not only the partnership with Interlock, but everything that A0 is going to bring to the space.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're also very happy to see how Interlock is building and how other projects are building, and are very, very optimistic about what's to come. And that being said, I think we can maybe just have a loose discussion on what do you guys think is needed as far as ecosystem projects, products, different verticals that you'd like to see on Aleph Zero. And we also have one more community member requesting to speak, which is Raskal. So maybe that would be a good question to start an open discussion.
Actually, hi Anthony. This is Rajesh. Actually, so we are one of the uh, startups which applied for the grant foundation, and I just wanted to give my appreciation to the team, including Anthony and Magda and others who have really. It's been a pleasure to interact with the team, and we've also got the first grant sent to us as well. And just to give a brief idea of what we are doing, we are building a blockchain-based framework for helping very small banks to be able to transfer money for their customers to each other, which currently is not possible in Indonesia. So this product is being built in Indonesia. So if you wanted to transfer money in Indonesia right now, it could cost anywhere up to 50 cents. And I think with A0 for the very small banks, we think we'll be able to do it at less than I think a few cents, 3 or 4 cents. So I think that's the kind of ability I think A0 brings to the platform, and we are very happy to be involved with this. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you as well. I didn't know your Twitter handle, but yeah, Rajesh is building one of the I would say projects that we're also super looking forward towards, because it does have also real world use cases in Indonesia, so a specific geographical region, and yeah, that would be a very interesting use case as far as sort of connecting rural banks in a shared liquidity pool is concerned.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
And
thank you as well. We're gonna be wrapping up in a few minutes, so if anyone wants to touch upon anything, share something, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, maybe from my side something. So actually, we are super happy to announce that what I've been building over the last months is almost done. So our actual new launch, because we already had a product live on the testnet at the hackathon, of course, but our actual new mainnet platform is will be launched soon. So I think you guys should all stay up to date, follow our handles, Twitter, and we are super proud also to announce that we actually were able to close a pre-seed round on Aleph Zero, and have some kind of shaped an interesting vision which goes even beyond Aleph Zero and going into a multi-chain direction. So happy to share more information on this in the coming weeks, and yeah, looking forward to what's happening here in the ecosystem.
Oh, hey, Mike, how can we get more involved with Al0 domains, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
How can we get more involved with that?
Yeah, so we will start with launching a new testnet version soon, so that everyone can actually test again what we will be deploying on the mainnet. We're currently in our audit phase, so we get support from the Kotelski security team, and we will actually starting to ramp up our marketing and community building pretty soon as well, launching a new landing page, launching this new testnet application, and we are looking actually to partner with all of the ecosystem projects, because for a domain service it's so important to be integrated, right? Because in the end it's about social consensus and acceptance that this kind of namespace is the one to follow, and is then over time, over adoption, adding the actual value, safety, and security to the ecosystem. So we are looking for any kind of like ecosystem project, which is saying, hey, we have something which is decentralized. We have something where people connect a wallet. And whenever this is the case, we're happy to integrate and to resolve our domains to the wallets and the application.
Sounds really exciting, man. Really exciting. How is this going to be different? I'm really curious, just in the very basic terminology. How is this going to be different from the current registration when we go ahead and change our stuff on when we change our name and our email addresses and stuff on the what do you call it, azero.dev? How is the Azero domains going to be different from that in a very basic sort of everyday terminology?
Yeah, so basically everyone who will have registered an Azero domain will be able to actually use this to send any kind of asset, to interact with, for example, social networks on the blockchain. So whenever you are interacting with an application on the blockchain, you can use your domain instead of a wallet address to interact. So somehow the domains will become something like an interface to the blockchain, which you use to interact with the blockchain and the ledger. And then, of course, we will actually have something which goes also beyond just the on-chain case. So we will also provide websites, Web2 websites for anyone who has a domain, so that you can actually aggregate your identity, all the different on-chain and off-chain data points from yourself and you as an individual, and then create this kind of social profile. And then, depending on the integration, use it in, as I said, social networks, but also maybe in DeFi for under collateralized lending. So there are actually so many different use cases where you can make use of this primitive of a domain as a starting point for your identity.
Awesome. So are you saying in the future that you're going to be able to like log in with your single sign-on to Twitter and then to like a wallet, and then from that wallet you can send to other Twitter domains? Is that what you're saying? Like you can send to your friend
I mean,
on Twitter?
in the best case, you would just need your domain, and then you aggregate all the other information in this domain and use this as you said, as a single one like item to log in everywhere you want, right? But this is a long way, of course, especially if you want to integrate into Web2 applications, into Web2 browsers. But we are working on that. But to ensure, we will start crypto native. So we will start with all the kind of on-chain applications, all the on-chain use cases, and then with like better product market fit, with more demand also on the Web2 side, we will try to integrate into all the other existing applications and use cases. Yeah.
Sounds really cool, man. You guys are like basically an extension of the Aleph Zero Foundation, almost like in a sort of like really deep application web 2.0 layer. It sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, identity is super important in general, right? You have your own identity and you interact with this identity with any kind of application. So that's why we're really trying to develop infrastructure which can be used and super easily integrated into all the ecosystem projects and even beyond. So there are a lot of interesting news coming up in the next weeks and months. And yeah, happy to be here with you guys in the ecosystem.
Sounds cool, man. Thanks for answering the questions.
Okay. On that note, I think we can wrap up. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you to builders for trusting a very new development environment and a new technology. I know it takes a lot of courage. Thank you to Maciek and all our partners who support the ecosystem, who support the use cases. I think we can expect some pretty interesting things very, very soon. Right now, we're still still beginning, still launching the first cohort of startups on top of the network. So stay with us for the next space, and see you soon.
Thank you for listening to the Aleph Zero podcast. Remember to subscribe, leave reviews, and come back for more insights into the Web3 space. Till next time.